We are officially in the last month of 2019 and the festive season smell of gungu is already clouding the atmosphere. The smell of raisins lingering in a granny fruit cake. Oh my God, smells so good. And even farmers reaping their rewards of sorrel and ginger, which is all made possible through one thing: nurturing the soil. Hi there, I'm Adrian at Kingston and welcome to your first Wednesday of December with Jamaica Magazine. Today we look at how our government is ensuring lands are viable for food production. After all, Christmas is upon us. Almost. And then we'll see how many of our locally produced products are making their way into the hotel industry. There's much to see in today's show, so stay with us.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, December 4. Over $3.1 billion has been earned from the tourism sector between January 1 and October 31 this year. The latest data was released by the Jamaica Tourist Board. It also showed that the country welcomed more than 3.4 million visitors during the same period. Portfolio Minister Edmund Bartlett says the record-breaking figures should continue to increase as the winter tourist season approaches. He says December is usually a strong month for the island, and in all probability, Jamaica will more than likely make the $3.7 billion projection for 2019. Minister Bartlett says the figures put the island on track to surpass the Tourism Ministry's five-pillar growth strategy set in 2016. At the time, projections for visitor arrivals over a 5-year period would be 5 million, while tourism earnings would increase to $5 billion. 3 more public hospitals have now been certified as baby-friendly facilities, bringing the number to 5. The hospitals are Lioneltown in Clarendon, Port Antonio in Portland, and Port Maria in St. Mary. Certifications were issued Tuesday under the Ministry of Health and Wellness's National Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative.
We need to get back to basics, and we need to embrace the traditional approaches as it relates to lactating mothers, as it relates to development of our newborns. And there is very little technology that is going to change that reality, that the breast is best.
The National Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative aims at creating a healthcare environment which supports breastfeeding. This is done by way of training mothers to breastfeed exclusively for the first 6 months, followed by complementary foods and continued breastfeeding for 2 years and beyond. This week's certification ceremony also served as the launch of the National Young Child and Infant Feeding Network. It comprises 38 support groups, healthcare staff, parish infant and young child feeding committees, and hospital infant feeding committees.
The aim of the network is to provide practical care and support for the mothers and other caregivers in alignment with the fact that childcare is not only the mother's job, but rather a community effort.
Government has outlined 10 major development plans for Port Royal. These include a significant improvement to housing, water, roads, drainage, and transportation, as well as the installation of fiber optic cables and increased economic opportunities. They are to be carried out under the Port Royal 2020 plan as a joint government initiative. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Pernell Charles Jr., says the development will be a model for other such works across the island.
The Port Royal 2020 development project is going to ensure that the town of Port Royal becomes a model for safety and security, and, as I say, the smartest city in our region.
Minister Charles Jr. was addressing residents at a community town hall meeting recently. The Port Royal 2020 plan is now in the second of 5 phases, with implementation projected for May 2020. It is being coordinated by the Urban Development Corporation.
I just want to say that it will be people-focused and always include the community. It will be service-oriented and data-driven. As I said, we're putting in fiber optics and so that we can be sure that there is internet and connectivity, so we can collect data and you make data-driven decisions going forward.
5 local organizations have received grants to advance gender equality and security. The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport will be coordinating the programs with funding from the Canadian High Commission's Fund for Local Initiatives. Recipients are the Boxing Board of Jamaica, National Youth Orchestra of Jamaica, Peace Management Initiative, Institute of Law and Economics, and Advocates for Change. At the handing over ceremony Tuesday, Minister of Gender Olivia Grange said the money would assist efforts to increase gender parity while eliminating gender-based violence.
The play and the transformative effects they can have on social and behavioral change, especially among the most vulnerable and disenfranchised within society. I say thanks to the Canadian government for its ongoing partnership.
Canada is here to partner with Jamaica in ensuring that there is no excuse for abuse and that we will all stand up and talk up the importance of ensuring that our women and girls are safe and that the communities are free of violence as well.
The selected projects will be given the funds by the end of March 2020. The Ministry of Culture has launched a project aimed at preserving reggae, titled Children of the Icons and Emerging Artists. The initiative will engage young reggae artists in a series of development programs. That includes an all-island roadshow featuring emerging reggae acts. Portfolio Minister Olivia Grange made the announcement during last night's official launch ceremony for Reggae Month 2020.
If we don't prepare the future, then we will not be able to continue this great music. And so I want you to look forward to seeing these young performers. There's some really great performers that are emerging. Coffee is one such performer.
Minister Grange says work is also ongoing on the implementation of an insurance fund for entertainers. This fund is to cover life, health, maternity, and pension, among other personal insurance benefits. Observed annually throughout February, Reggae Month is supported by the Culture and Tourism Ministries, with activities organized by the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association, JARIA. The theme for the 2020 celebration is Catch the Rhythm. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Did you know that in a recent survey done by the OCA in schools across Jamaica, 43% of the students received inappropriate messages from strangers? The OCA wants you to be smart online. Never speak to persons you don't know. Parents, encourage your children to be social but be smart.
This message was brought to you by the Office of the Children's Advocate with support from UNICEF.
So it's easy to forget how important the soil is in making Christmas happen for many. But that importance is not lost on the Agri Investment Corporation, and the entity is ensuring that whatever is served on our dinner tables tastes and looks good as they should. Of course, through finding the best lands for your crops.
To provide jobs for persons, it lets me feel like, I'm really contributing to the economy of the country. It's just a good feeling. And to produce the quality products, to compete with the international market and to produce goods that actually look much better than imported goods, it's a good feeling for me.
Agri Investment Corporation continues to scout for lands in Jamaica that are best suited for agricultural production through the National Land Agency and the Commission of Lands, and also with private enterprises. So wherever there is unused government lands or private lands, Agri Investment Corporation will profile these lands.
So by now, we should all be aware of the benefits of leasing lands from the government. But once you've leased the land, how do you maximize returns? Well, knowing the soil type is important. For instance, did you know that over in the Ebony Park Spring Plain Agro Park, the soil type impacts the kinds of crops that can be planted there?
Ebony Park, Agri Park is about 1,100 acres, and likewise the Spring Plain, and that's roughly all the lands within there. There are areas of non-arable areas, but there are arable areas. Arable areas amount on the Ebony Park side to about 800 acres. There's a lot of different soil types, predominantly Bonegate, clay loam. Basically anything can grow here. Once it requires a pH of about 6.5 to about 7. There are pockets where the pH might fall to about 5.5, 5.8. So if there's a crop that needs to be having a lower pH, soil could be amended to facilitate that. But basically anything will grow.
So let's revisit our checklist. We've applied and submitted all the necessary documentations, including proof of our capacity to invest in the land. We've learned about soil types and pH balances in the soil. What's next after you've been approved?
They would assign you a plot number, or they'd give you a designated area to where you'd be assigned. I guess you'd view it to see maybe what you'd need to do. If it needs a bit of clearing, you might want to look at that, how you go about doing that. You'll be advised as to the best way to get that done. You might want to go to the NIC because our water is pressurized, and so the NIC supplies it. So a part of your contract would give you the ability to go to NIC with tenure of land, and then they would then come and put your meter on so that you get ready supply for water. We also offer tractor services to plow, harrow, farrow, and other activities that you might want, rotovate and so on for your lands. So you'll be able to do that. Once you do that, we could tell you of maybe different cycles, crop cycles, where you might want to plant, best time for certain crop. You might be able to go out of these seasons, but at least we'll be able to tell you that this crop does well in a particular season. The risk might be higher in another season, but so might be the returns. So you could get advice as to that. So local advice will be there ready for you.
Meet Henry Givens, a youth farmer who is a beneficiary of this initiative. He started out acquiring just 5 acres of land, and today he is up to 15. Givens plants various crops at different stages, including Scotch bonnet pepper, sweet potato, and Maruga red watermelons, as well as slicing and plummy tomatoes.
Leasing land from the government, it is actually beneficial, and at the point where I would actually want to lease more if available. You know, I am not employed otherwise, so it allows me to take care of my 2 babies, and it allows me to eat and survive. So it is something very beneficial, I would say. Life here at Ebony Park, it's twofold. It's good sometimes and sometimes it's challenging. One, persons around, some persons, they know what to do with their crops, for example, and they don't want to do it. So sometimes, we have a lot of pest and disease outbreak, and some persons just don't want to invest the funds or do what is right to actually, make the agro park much better and a much cleaner environment. And then, also, sometimes there's a major issue with the whole irrigation system. It costs a lot sometimes because even if you look into the pepper field, sun scalding is a result of a lack of water supply sometimes. But it's a blessing, and there is not only negative because once you have irrigation, then without the irrigation I couldn't do anything like this, none at all.
Farming can be an expensive venture, but it's also beneficial. As a youth farmer, the challenges may not even be financial.
Some older persons, because they're so, relatively young, they don't want to work with you because they said they don't want to work with a younger person. However, sometimes it's good to know that, for some persons that really can't afford to go into the farming as deep, that you can provide them with not only a job, but you can also assist them with technical advice to improve their smaller production that they do as well. My advice to younger farmers or investors is that they should not be discouraged or swayed from agriculture. It is something that can be beneficial, and it is a good way to make a good foundation for themselves and their families. So it's something that they should look into and be strong about it. That's the only way we can build our country.
Hey there. So, did you know that plastic bags were introduced to supermarkets in 1977? The production of plastic bags are toxic to the environment. as the process involves the use of petroleum, natural gas, and other chemicals. 160,000 plastic bags are used globally every second, and 5 trillion are produced yearly. Side by side, they can encircle the world 7 times. Plastic degrades after 700 years and will only fully degrade in 1,000. This means that all the plastic that has ever been produced has not degraded. It remains toxic even after it breaks down. 13 million metric tons of plastic end up in the ocean every year, and at least 800 species worldwide are affected by marine debris, of which 80% is plastic and is mistaken for food by turtles, fish, and other marine life. Research has shown that fish caught for human consumption contain plastic nanoparticles. An average family will use 60 plastic bags on 4 visits to the supermarket, and only 1 to 3% are recycled worldwide. Play your part in advancing your welfare and that of the earth. Support the ban on plastic. Reduce, reuse, recycle, and get eco-friendly bags for you and your 1877.
Local produce aren't just stopping by our dinner tables or markets because Alex is ensuring that they reach the plates and palates of those who visit this island. Have you figured it out? Our locally produced goods are moving into the hotel industry. Find out more.
Many times we have so many things that we can't sell. We have, because sometimes all the farmers goes out and plant Irish potatoes, and it's too much. So what we do, we just use the phone, same place in the field, get to them, and they try everything, and they unload it. Before them, we only have spoilage. We can't sell. So no matter how it glut in the whole island, they find a way to unload it.
Bye-bye farm produce glut. Alex is here to move farmers' produce onto the plates of visitors to our shores.
The Agri Linkages Exchange Center, good afternoon.
It's not my...
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Wilson. What are you doing? Okay. So what do you have reaping now?
We have a portion of corn ready, you know.
Is that sweet corn? Okay, sir. Let me just add that to the database for you. How much corn are you reaping?
We have 12,000 corn ready, you know.
What's the selling price? 120 per dozen?
So you can look the buyer for me anytime you're ready. You hear, boss?
Another problem, Mr. Willis. I'll post the information for you, and once the market is available, I'll give you a call and let you know. All right, Mr. Willis, thanks for calling.
As easy as that, farmers are reaping economic benefits through tourism. The Agri Linkages Exchange is an electronic platform where buyers and sellers of agricultural produce meet. Currently, there are agri-brokers who manage the platform. They operate from the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, St. Andrew office. It's a collaboration between the Ministries of Tourism and Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries. The center has raked in more than $50 million in sales for approximately 400 farmers across the country.
This program is dedicated specifically to the farmers, and what we were trying to solve was the fact that a number of our hotel, especially our hotel purchasing personnel, had difficulty getting produce that was in season, out of season, or even where they were located. So you'll find that particular fruits that will be in abundance in the eastern end of the island never ever gets to the west, and vice versa. For example, mangoes. Mangoes are very abundant in the east, and again, the west would love to have some of the fruits that we have in abundance at one place. So the Agri Linkages Exchange platforms would have been a link to ensure that both buyers and sellers meet. At this point, we have 55 hotels on it. We have several agro-processors. We have about 5 retail operators, but the retail are really large personnel. And each day is another day in which persons are added.
I was at a production and marketing meeting in my community where we were discussing glut where we can unload our produce. So one of the road extension officer recommended us to Alex. I just get my phone, get registered, and that's it. Since Alex, we have more in demand than supply. It's been so good for us, trust me.
There are farmers who might not be technologically savvy to actually go on the system themselves, so they'll call into the center and ask, and these agro-brokers will be able to put them on the system.
On a daily basis, I would say we get from maybe 20 calls per day or so from farmers. A lot of the calls that we do get, surprisingly, are farmers who are new to agriculture. They are curious about what Alex is about. Persons are now realizing that technology, agriculture, and production can all mix.
We supply and deliver produce, fruits, vegetables to hotels and restaurants. It's about 10 hotels that we supply on a weekly basis. Hotels that we supply, it's from small to large hotels. We found out about the Alex Center through a farmer. It is a very good initiative.
On a daily basis, we probably make contact with 20, 30 buyers on behalf of our farmers, and they themselves, the buyers do call the center. Buyers request varied amount of quantity of produce depending on what the usage is. If it's for agro-processing or export, the volumes will range from as small as a small agro-processor may need 80 pounds of sorrel or 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds, but then you have an exporter who will need 10,000 pounds of sweet potato, 15,000 pounds of pumpkin, 20,000 pounds of other produce. So the volumes vary depending on the usage. We walk with the farmers and we stay with them until the transaction is completed, until they're paid, until the goods are delivered.
Our hotels are interested in buying local produce. There's really no substitute for the produce that we actually produce here. If you were to import any of our grown provision, it wouldn't taste the same. And therefore, there's really no incentive for the hotels to be purchasing overseas. What we have not had from our local industry is exactly where it is and in what quantities. And Alex has been able to solve that mischief somewhat.
It's simple, man. Just get the phone or come down to the road where the office is, register with Alex, and that's it.
Did you know that the EU has been doing a lot of work in Jamaica? The EU provided some 23 billion Jamaican dollars to help people living in sugar-dependent areas. This means new houses for sugar estate workers, rehabilitated roads, improved schools, health centers, vocational training, business grants, and a wide range of action to improve the lives of people in sugar-dependent areas.
Life sweeter for true with the EU.
From the soil to the sea, here's one more thing that you can incorporate in your diet this season. Well, that's just if you already haven't.
We all love our protein. Chicken, beef, pork. But how often do we eat fish? Is it only at Easter time or when you're at the beach? Incorporating more fish into your diet can be very beneficial to your health. Compared to red meats and poultry, fish has far less calories and cholesterol.
It's the saturated fats and the trans fats that our bodies use to make cholesterol. And fish and seafood have very little saturated fat and trans fat. So in truth and in fact, that makes it a very healthy source of protein.
Fish also has iron, which is important for good reasoning and memory, iodine, which can prevent mental problems in children, and selenium, vitamins, and carotenoids, which are antioxidants. Who knew that we could get so many nutrients from fish? And that's not all. Incorporating fish into our diet can even reduce the chances of developing certain diseases.
Studies have in fact shown that people who have a higher intake of fish compared to other meat sources have less heart disease, they suffer from fewer mood disorders, and they have less cognitive decline with age, so less dementia.
This is due to omega-3 fatty acids, a nutrient that is only found in a few other food sources, such as walnuts and flax seeds. But oily fish, such as sardines, tuna, mackerel, salmon, and trout, are excellent sources of omega-3s and are readily available at your convenience in supermarkets. So we want to add fish into our diet. In what ways can we do this?
So escovitch fish is one of our favorites. Now the onions and the carrots and the vinegar and the pimento, that's all fine. But we don't want to do a lot of deep frying. Deep frying adds calories. Nothing like a nice steamed fish, a nice roast fish. And when you roast your fish, you can stuff it with wonderful vegetables like callaloo and so on. So we have to find other ways. Many of us have broilers as a part of our stove and we've never utilized it. We don't know how it's used. And that gives us, I think, the closest taste to fried without adding a lot of oil.
So we've got different styles of cooking the fish, but what about flavor? Jamaicans love adding salt, but fish is already salty. Wouldn't that be too much sodium?
If we utilize other things like lime and lemon juice and or fresh seasonings or scotch bonnet pepper or onions or scallion, we can make our fish flavorful without adding a lot of extra sodium.
That sounds really tasty, but watch out for bones. Make sure to debone fish before giving your children. Even if the fish is bought deboned, check for fine bones with your fingers. If you're not careful, you could end up with a medical emergency. The recommended serving size per week is only 8 to 9 ounces of fish, or 2 to 3 servings per week. With an array of health benefits and a variety of ways to cook it, don't miss out on this lifestyle choice. Make a positive impact on your health by adding more fish to your diet.
So we've spent much of today talking about planting and reaping. But there's an essential part to all of this, the importance of our soil. Here are a few soil trivia that you may not have known before. There are more living individual organisms in a single tablespoon of soil than there are people on the earth. Yeah, I know, there are over 7 billion people on earth, so it might be hard to wrap your head around that fact. The soil is considered a living system because of the many living components that make it up, such as bacteria and fungi. Approximately 10% of the world's carbon dioxide emissions are stored in soil. Many of the antibiotics we take to help us fight infections are obtained from soil microorganisms. And for those big on skincare, putting clay on your face in the form of a mud mask is done to cleanse the pores in the skin. And soil is at the bottom of the food chain, but it is part of the foundation of life on earth. So damage to the soil can disturb nature's balance. As a people and as a nation, let us help to protect and preserve the soil. That way we can all play a part in helping to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and of course produce our own locally grown foods. It has undoubtedly been an interesting stay with you. And while today's show must end, there's always a way for you to see it all again, whenever you're ready. Just visit the GIS website or YouTube channel. You can also keep up with us on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter pages. And just a quick reminder before we go, a nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Let's practice soil preservation. On behalf of the entire production team here at the GIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.